Caroline Dowd?
I am.
A student?
Yes.
And your address, Mr. Dowd?
I don't have one at the moment.
Of no fixed abode.
I'm in the process of moving, staying with friends while my new place is being fixed up. Would you like the new address?
Yes, please.
17 Prince Consort Road, Fulchester, NL2 4JU.
You chose to affirm rather than to take the oath, Mr. Dowd. Are you an atheist?
No, I'm not.
You're not.
Well, only God knows enough to be an atheist, and I doubt if he'd want to be. I'm an agnostic, I don't know.
But you do realize that you are as bound as is any deeply religious man on oath to tell us the truth.
Yes.
Could one say that your whole life, in fact, has been spent in a search for the truth?
Not really. It's just that I'm such a lousy liar.
If you're a lousy liar, then you're a truthful man.
I try hard to be.
Tell us the truth about the events which led to your arrest on this charge. Now, why were you there at the strike at all?
It was a good strike. A justified strike about legitimate grievances. I was there to lend my support, that's all.
To lend a bit of muscle, if need be?
No, moral support.
Did it concern you at all that this newspaper, this strike, brought this newspaper to a standstill?
Oh, yes, of course.
And
bosses and shareholders are people, too.
And yet you supported it?
Yes.
Why?
A man does a job of work for certain wages under certain conditions. Now, if he doesn't like those conditions, he's got to have the right to withdraw his labour. That's what the right to strike is all about. Well, no boss ever gave his workers a raise just because he liked their happy, smiling faces. He'd have to be made to.
A fair share of the cake for all.
Well, a custard pie for a boss or two.
Mr. Lotterby, for the sake of your client, not to mention comprehensibility for the rest of us, do you think it is wise to conduct your examination on this level of irreverence?
My lord. Mr. Dowd, what happened when the van approached the pickets?
Well, we waited for the 7th Cavalry, but they didn't come,
The
so...
7th Cavalry.
I believe it is a jocular reference, my lord, to a dramatic situation in some film entertainment.
It has no relevance to this case.
A humorous illustration, my lord.
I see.
So, without the assistance of the 7th Cavalry...
So we had to do something for ourselves. We spread ourselves across the road to block the road. All we wanted to do was to stop the van, to talk to the driver and persuade him to turn back.
You've done this successfully before.
Oh, yes. Only this gentleman didn't stop. He just drove right at us, just pushed us out of the way with his large, reinforced, blunt bumpers. They hurt, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And not only Judge's Rolls Royces. Anyway, a couple of the lads, 3 to be exact, ran ahead up the road. They lay down in front of the van. Well, that stopped him. Even Barrett wouldn't run over men. At least, not while anyone was watching.
Was lying in the road your suggestion?
Very probably. It's an old tactic. Any picket worth his banner would know it. What does it matter? He'd hurt some of the lads, and they weren't happy about that.
Understandably, perhaps.
Right, so they ran over to the van, they jumped on it and banged on it, they yelled in at him, and then somebody, unintentionally, I think, bust the windscreen, leaning on it, put their elbow through it. The so-called intimidation didn't really amount to much.
What part did you play in all this?
No part at all. I weren't anywhere near the van.
Where were you?
Well, we had a cine camera down there. So when the men moved towards the van and the police started to move in, well, I sprinted off to get the camera.
And did you get the camera?
No, before I could, the police sergeant arrested me.
Had you planned to attack the van and the driver?
No, to stop it, that's all.
So you were surprised by the violent things that began to happen?
Well, it weren't planned.
Did you say all the things that the driver claims you said?
No. I didn't think he could hear me. So I tried to open the door so I could talk to him.
This was before any move was made against the van?
Yes.
But you did try to force open the door?
Force it? No.
Then...
Well, I said I tried it. Well, it was locked. You can't force a locked door with your bare hands. All I wanted was to talk to him. That's what the police hopefully call intimidation. Well, there was the open windscreen. Anybody could have leant through that and clobbered him. I didn't, nor did anyone else.
Neither you nor anybody else tried to open the door with anything other than your bare hands?
No, not while I was watching. Not even your friendly neighbourhood bobbies claim otherwise.
Did you climb onto the van yourself?
No.
At no time?
No, I was going to get the camera.
You didn't climb onto the bonnet and talk through the windscreen?
No, all I did was to try the door.
When you were arrested, did you say to the policeman, "You fascist pig, why did you pull me off?"
No, is it likely?
Did you say anything?
Yes, I did.
What?
Well, as near as I can remember, and it's near enough, I said, "You're the kind of copper gets called a fascist pig, mate. Now, what are you trying to pull? This is a legal picket, so push off and leave me alone."
Would you explain to the jury what you mean by what are you trying to pull?
Well, it means... Well, they know what it means.
In case they don't.
It means somebody's trying to put one over on you. Blame you for something you didn't do.
And you hadn't done anything to warrant arrest?
Nope.
And you say, do you, that you were arrested only because someone thought it would be a good idea to arrest you, but not for anything that you had done?
Of course. Well, you know it, and I know it. I reckon he knows it and all. But we've got to go through the whole farce, haven't we?
Mr. Dowd, I must ask you not to be disrespectful to the court.
Well, I don't feel too respectful, being asked to climb down over that copper.
Please confine yourself to
As I say,
answering
I
my
don't feel
question.
too respectful.
Be that as it may, Dowd, you do not help yourself with this attitude.
It's the generation gap, my
That
lord.
is another example. You behave as if this was a casual matter. It is not. This is a serious charge you face, and I must remind you that the consequences may be very serious for yourself. Now behave yourself.
Right. Only if I don't play your game because I don't believe in your game, what will you do about it?
I can make you behave yourself, and I shall. Mr. Lotterby,
How?
are you trying to provoke me?
No, I really want to know.
Do you want to go to prison?
That's it. But they have to find me guilty first, surely.
No doubt. I, without reference to the jury, can find you guilty of contempt of court.
I said disrespect, not contempt.
Perhaps you think it will help towards publicity for your cause to go to prison for a few days. Well, let me tell you that a lot more is involved than that. If I find you guilty of contempt, that is certainly where you will go, but not for a few days, but until, in my opinion, you have purged your contempt. Now be quiet, and answer only the questions that are put to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Go on, Mr. Lotterby.
Thank you, my lord. Mr. Dowd, do you believe you were arrested only because...
Only because somebody thought it was a good idea to arrest me, not at all for anything I had done. Yes, Mr. Lotterby, we both know that is so.
Members of the jury, you must put both that question and its answer out of your minds when you come to consider your verdict. I'm being extremely tolerant because, as it may have occurred to you, it is just possible that this unusual young man wishes to be made to look like a martyr, and we must not allow that. We must listen fairly to and weigh his evidence. Now, what the accused believes or thinks he believes is wholly irrelevant. It is a matter of opinion. It has nothing to do with facts. Take no notice of it.
With the greatest respect, my lord, if the accused wished to look like a martyr, he'd try to be found guilty.
I do not intend to enter into debate with you, Mr. Lotterby. Now get on, please.
My lord, I have no further questions for Mr. Dowd. Thank you.
Mr. Dowd, perhaps this is the moment to ask you why you have elected to have a jury trial when you could have finished and done with it by now before the magistrate's court.
Yes, I have a good enough reason.
What is it?
I want to be found what I am, not guilty.
Oh, yes.
Well, look at me. A long-haired lefty. Imagine what a cluster of Tory magistrates would make of me on a charge like this. They'd be reaching for their black caps before I'd finish saying not guilty. Here, at least, I'm not the only one with funny hair, am I?
Mr. Dowd.
No, if I was to have a chance, I had to be heard before ordinary people like myself. A jury of the people.
Mr. Dowd, are you just after publicity?
Nope.
But it would assist your cause, wouldn't it?
There are times when it helps, yes. But it's beginning to interfere with my work. My political work, that is, if I can use a dirty word.
Oh, yes, I see.
And when the police start busting me practically on sight, well, I don't want any more publicity.
Mr. Dowd, some people might say that this strike was none of your business, had nothing to do with you. An unofficial strike. What would be your answer to that?
Well, I can understand their feelings, but they're not right.
No?
No. Look, Cock, any injustice, any wrong is everybody's business. As for it being unofficial, Jesus, what is official nowadays? You've got to make an application in triplicate to have a strike. The union leaders are as much part of the establishment, some of them, as the Institute of Directors. They call me a communist, a Maoist. I'm left, okay, but I think it's down to us, the workers, to get something done for ourselves, and not sit about and wait for kind permission from them to protect ourselves against blackmail.
The case of the Queen against Dowd will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court.